former colleague of mine in the NFL and does a heck of a job broadcasting and as an analyst. Chris Sims joins us to talk about tonight's trip. Welcome to the show, Chris. How you doing, bud?
What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man? Good to talk to you. Everything good?
Yeah, everything's great. I don't think I've been more interested in the draft simply because of the mysteriousness of it all. And
right.
We're talking about mostly, we know what 1 and 2 are going to look like because it's been like that for a while. But San Francisco threw a huge curve in all of this about a month ago, moving up to 3, having to know who they loved, who they moved up to get. You feel pretty adamant about where you are on this. Who do they draft tonight?
Yeah, I do. I feel pretty adamant about it. I mean, again, I don't know. I know everybody thinks I know because I'm friends with Kyle Shanahan, and it's like, no, he doesn't tell me everything. I mean, I have one of the biggest mouths in the world, and I talk every day on TV. But I do know him, and I do know what he likes in quarterbacks, and that's where I guess I would be shocked that it's not Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a Matt Ryan, Drew Brees type of quarterback, and I think he's better than them coming out. And I know Shanahan has always had an affinity for those type of guys. And I also know he thinks that if he got more than 2 years with Matt Ryan, he would have won a Super Bowl, and he was up 28-3 in one of them, and I know a lot of people blame him, but like the defense is allowed to stop Brady and the Patriots and all that. So I do. I just expect it to be Mac Jones. Like I said, I don't know. I'd be intrigued to see what a Trey Lance would be like in a Shanahan offense. It would be a little bit of that RG3 Washington combination that we saw, a few years back. But I think ultimately it's always been about Mac Jones, and I will be like fall on the floor shocked if it's not him at 3 tonight.
Well, you've been awfully good the last few years, and what I enjoy so much about you is that you take a look at what you like, you go about what the need is, and you don't move off that spot, right? It's your spot. You feel like you have a pretty good idea where you're going with that. I remember the Lamar Jackson draft and how really excited you were about them. And when you went on the Dan Patrick Show, people kind of looked at you like you were crazy. But he's an MVP in this league because of what he's been able to accomplish. And so I take it with a lot of heart. The biggest thing I've found in all this, and Rich Eisen talked to me a little bit about it earlier, is that no one expected Mac Jones to be a top 5 pick until Kyle Shanahan moved to this spot. And all of a sudden now it's almost like he is a kingmaker in this. And there's a lot of power in this. And we've talked about it before in the past. When somebody falls in love with somebody, it doesn't matter. It only takes one. And it may be Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch who just have fallen in love with Mac Jones for what they can do. No doubt. It could be just one. Now, I'll say this too, right? And I mean, Rich is right. That is the thought that was out there. But I'd also like to say that thought was out there from people who don't make the decisions in football still. Right. When this trade was made and everything, most of the NFL was just getting done with draft stuff. So that's when you need to start paying attention to what's being said and things like that. Before that, it's a lot of, hey, TV scouts and, hosts of radio shows and highlight shows making proclamations about where people should be picked in the draft. So that's where I'd fight back against that. And, I have knowledge of things that went on in the NFL up to that. I know for a pretty good fact the 49ers traded up because they knew teams were looking to trade up to draft Mac Jones. And I think the first thing they knew was they felt that the Carolina Panthers were hot on Mac Jones. They coached him at the Senior Bowl, and I don't think it's some coincidence that, the 49ers make the move and do everything like that, and not long after you see the Panthers go, okay, we're going to trade for Sam Darnold. I think they kind of told you right there they had their eye on Mac Jones. And the other team that I think a lot of people in the NFL world thought would make a play for Mac Jones is, of course, the obvious one that everyone pins to him, which is the New England Patriots. So I think there was a lot of thoughts by people in the know, and I think that calls were made by the Patriots and the Panthers to move up. And that's why I think Shanahan and the 49ers got wind of that, and that's why they made the aggressive move to get up to number 3 to make sure they could have the pick of the litter and really know who and pick the guy they want, and take fate into their own hands. We're talking with Chris Sims, NBC Sports NFL analyst. You can check him out on the Twitter, CSims, when you get a chance. What do you see? Sorry, CSims QB on the Twitter box
okay,
there. I'm Ryan Lee.
It's only Twitter. It's not that big of a deal.
I'm Ryan Lee filling in for Rich Eisen. Okay, what happens now? If you remember when Donovan McNabb was drafted second overall, and the Philly fans went absolutely berserk that was not the pick they wanted. What happens when the San Francisco 49ers fans hear that pick announced tonight and the reaction isn't overly great like it will be when the Jets take Zach Wilson, who, if you would have asked him a year ago who Zach Wilson was or that he'll be the quarterback next year, they would have been up in arms.
Well, to me, I mean, they're going to have to make sure they pub this the right way. Yeah, there's going to be a negative reaction. With some of these guys in the draft, hey, the most novice of football fans who just turns on the TV, you could see more, unbelievable, jaw-dropping type of stuff from some of the other quarterbacks. So that's where I think, it's being lost in translation as far as the public's love for Mac Jones. I mean, listen, you don't need to be a genius to see Zach Wilson's workout and go, that looked different. Those balls look like they fly off of his hands. Like, holy crap. And then, of course, people have seen Justin Fields play, and they see, whoa, a really powerful arm and a guy that is a special runner. And, Trey Lance, you see some of the highlights up there at North Dakota State, and they're impressive. Mac Jones is more of a machine. He doesn't have that one trait that just jumps out to you where you just go, oh, my gosh, that's unbelievable. But I think it's what it is you got to look at it more of like he checks the box at a really high level in all categories. So when you go through it that way and you go, okay, most accurate passer in the draft, okay, best in the pocket in the draft, either him or Zach Wilson with their ability to move and slide and make throws that way. Okay, there's Mac Jones in that. All right, the ability to, read and diagnose and go to the right place with the ball. Mac Jones wins that conversation. That's as good as anybody I've studied, Ryan, since I've been on this side of the business. It's him or Joe Burrow. His arm is just as good as Joe Burrow's was last year. So what I'm basically saying is, and then, I hear people say, oh, well, you don't get to see him throw under pressure and do those type of things. Yeah, okay, there's not a ton of it, but also take into account when there is pressure, he's phenomenal at avoiding it and moving and making the appropriate throw. The other thing, too, is that, the pressure thing sometimes doesn't get there because he knows it's coming and gets the ball out of his hands quickly. So that people lose that sight of that fact. And what I'm basically saying is, listen, you add up all those things, and what you get is an elite quarterback. And that's what Mac Jones is. And, Ryan, that's where I think the 49ers got to do their best job to sell to their fan base and just be like, we just drafted Drew Brees. That would be what I would be telling them. We just drafted Drew Brees. Put that out there and see if we can't get the fan base a little excited. But it's going to take results on the field to back off, that's for sure.
Yeah, the things about the pressure, right? Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are terrible with pressure. But guess what? They get rid of it before the pressure gets to them, or they check out of it and put them in a position to do something differently. Also, the argument being made that he had, first-round draft picks at wide receiver around him, a first-round draft pick and a running back, offensive lineman. And I simply come back and I go, who was Joe Burrow playing with? A bunch of bums?
Exactly.
What
about Tua last year, right? Tua had 4 first-round receivers. I'm with you, Ryan. That's where it gets lost in translation too much. I get it. Joe Burrow was with awesome players. We know that. Deshaun Watson wasn't with any slouches at Clemson either when he was there. And neither were Trevor Lawrence surrounded or Justin Fields by slouches either. And then added to your point about the Alabama thing, this is the last thing I wanted to add about the Mac Jones. All you need to do is turn on film from Tua last year and turn on film for Mac Jones, and it'll tell you by itself that Alabama thought Mac Jones was better than Tua. The offense they run with Mac Jones is more aggressive and more dependent on the quarterback being a better player.
Yep.
And that was one of the first things that jumped out to me about it. So from the start, I always said he is a better prospect than Tua for me. There's no doubt about that. But it just hasn't been sold to the public the same way. It was tank for Tua, tank for Trevor, and it's hard to tell people anything different once that kind of gains momentum.
It is. It's hard. It's hard when a narrative has been spun.
Right.
We're talking to Chris Sims, NBC Sports NFL analyst. I released my mock draft and yours up against each other, and there was one sizable difference. And a lot of people questioned and asked why you felt Justin Fields falls so far down the list. You have him going 32nd overall.
Right.
Why did Justin Fields fall so far? But regardless, whoever gets him is going to have a great quarterback for the future, I do believe.
No, I mean, he's got a chance to be special. There's no doubt. But there's some issues, and they're hard issues to work on. And I don't think all teams in the NFL think they can be fixed. You know, he's got a little bit of a hitch in his giddy-up, his throw, the way he lifts that elbow. You know, anybody that's been paying attention to his feet can get really weird at times where he can push off a mound almost to throw the ball. So he needs so much space and all of those things. He really needs to be polished as a passer and really work on fixing some of those flaws within his mechanics. You know, I didn't go into the mock draft. First off, I didn't know my mock draft was going to be like, damn, this is the answer key, and it's written in stone. I mean, you know, I guess that's a positive thing about my career. But I didn't go into it going, okay, I'm going to make Justin Fields the 32nd pick, and now let me fill in the rest of the draft. Like, I didn't do that.
Yep.
I tried to realistically go through it with, hey, things I know about the draft and where guys might go. And then when I got to situations where, like it was the Denver Broncos at 9, the Denver Broncos did what I always thought they were going to do. I thought they tried to stay with Drew Lock and go with Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe they still draft a quarterback tonight. I don't know. But I kind of went, oh, all right, so it's Vic Fangio. His butt's going to be on the hot seat. I could see them passing the quarterback and trying to get somebody that helps them now. I have Washington trading up to get Trey Lance. You know, you get to the Bears at 20. You know, I don't know. I understand they need a quarterback. But again, here we are. Are they giving Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace the green light when it sounds like their butt's on the hot seat to draft any quarterback and trade away any assets they want? And then what? Leave the next coaching regime in the same spot they left Matt Nagy, where he gets to take over a team of a quarterback that he doesn't like, and Mitchell Trubisky? So, and I went to that, and I went, ooh, I don't think that's going to happen. And I just kind of organically, as I went through it, I know there's a good chance that somebody would trade up into the late 20s there if he was available, but I kind of just filled it out and went with it, and I got to the 32nd, the Bucks, and I went, man, the Bucks don't have any needs, and if it got to this point, I'm not sure. They might not trade out of the pick because they might go, we got a quarterback. This is the perfect situation for Fields. And the last thing I'll just say to everybody, like, I'm humbled in a way that people took it so like it was the draft, like the answer key. But at the same time, there's always a curveball in the draft, and that was my curveball. Nobody thought Lamar Jackson was going to be the 32nd pick. Nobody thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be picked 24. There's stuff like this all the time. So it kind of just organically worked that way. And, yeah, I've taken a lot of flack. I'm the biggest Justin Fields hater in the world now.
All right. Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, just, you know, today's rumor mill, of course, gets spun up. His name has been heard on the lips of some people today in terms of people inquiring what it would take to maybe get an Aaron Rodgers on their roster. So far, no biters out of Green Bay. But what do you think about his name continuously being brought up as a possibility somewhere else other than Green Bay?
Yeah, Ryan, I think it's going to continue. I do. I said on Pro Football Talk with Florio the other day. I'd almost bet anything to say this will be the last year with Rodgers in Green Bay. I think he's had it, and I don't think they're going to give him the long-term security, as far as years down the road, to make him feel like he's the guy for any more time than maybe 1 or 2 years. So I think that's why you hear like Green Bay talking about, we'll figure out a way to negotiate a contract and do that kind of stuff. I'm going to bet you that Rodgers is going to say, no, thanks. I'll just leave the contract the way it is. And I think Rodgers will make a move after the year. I really do. But I think they're going to continue to field these calls because I think most of the NFL feels the same way as what I'm saying, that things are a little dicey up there. And I think a lot of people think Rodgers could make a move to get the hell out of there.
If not, somewhere else in a uniform, definitely with a tie on, asking people Jeopardy questions,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Exactly
Chris Sims,
right.
NBC Sports NFL analyst. Hey, brother, man, thanks so much for joining us and being part of the day. Enjoy tonight and tonight's NFL draft.
You too, Ryan. You the man, man. Be good. Good luck with everything.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.